Welcome to a new round of SDH AM. I didn't think I hit the button twice. I was wondering why it was kicking off twice. John, hear you there, and John's fixing his hair because it's once again out of control, and he can't do anything about it with the headset on or off. Morning, David. It is the last week of the 2025 year, so kind of drifting in and out of our guests and experts this week. We're going to kind of look at their bests of 2025, worsts, what they're looking for 2026. And we'll get into that a little bit with Bart coming in hour number 2. We'll look at AFCON as well. We've got we have a moment from the weekend in AFCON that we'll look at to get you prepared for the beginning of match day last. And that starts at 11 o'clock this morning. You can get that on the BNs. And if you don't have the BNs, you can get it at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. And it helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, continue to add to the leagues that you're watching on a daily basis. With Fanatis, you end up getting all of the BNs, which means you end up getting the Polish league, the French league. You got all of the African tournaments that you have as well. You end up with Argentina. You have Paraguay, you got the Copa Libertadores and the Sudamericana, you've got TVV, you've got CDO, CDO2, Liga 1 Max Pro. So that gets you into Peru and Paraguay and South America. You end up with Tigo Sports and Canal 4. You've got CATV at points. So it drifts into a lot of different places in Central and South America and Europe. And so you can get all of that at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here if you don't have it yet. Full disclosure, I've got it, and I've been locked in on the AFCON with this particular modern run that we have of BN and Fanatis. And so, yeah, I've been pretty much locked in on the AFCON. We're going to get you ready for match day 3. It's a doubleheader at 11 and a doubleheader at 2. We'll go over the juice boxes. And we'll also, from the weekend, get you ready and let you know where things stand going into the final day of the beginning of the group stages. And there was a really big moment for one particular nation. We're going to play you through that as some of our highlights get you ready for match day 3 beginning later this morning. So as we're wrapping up, you can wrap up with us and then head over to Fanatis or head over to the BNs, and you can watch everything with AFCON over there. Like I said, we get into juice boxes, highlights. We'll run through the weekend and AFCON coming up in a bit. So Bart Keeler coming up in hour number 2. We're going to talk about the NWSL getting hip. We're going to talk about Yanks abroad. We're going to talk cards and calls. One of them has to do with his beloved Arsenal, and we'll get into that coming up in hour number 2. Hour number 1, we'll see if our buddy Abe Gordon is back from vacation, and we'll find out about his vacation, if he got his pony for Christmas, and what is under the tree, and what Chipper got for the holidays. And so we'll get into that. Plus, his thoughts on Major League Soccer, anything else on his mind. Once again, as some of our pundits drift in and out this week, we're going to get into best and worst of 25, and we'll get you ready for what they think is going to happen in 26. And so we'll get that as a part of everything as well. So you have news in the Premier League. We'll get you through those numbers and what happened there. Remember, you're in festive fixtures, so if we are drifting in and out of conversation involving the Premier League, it's because of the activity that we're used to seeing a little bit before Christmas and working its way through New Year's, but it's somewhat compressed and slid. So we'll get into what happened in the Prem this past weekend as well, and we'll get you ready for the activity that's going to be happening. There is no Monday Night Football considering that you're in festive fixtures, but it's a big day for the championship. And it's a big day for the lower divisions in England, and so we'll get you through that as well in what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. So I was debating trying to figure out something akin to opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And for the record, here is their QR code. We want to thank them for everything that they have done to be a part of our rundown and be a part of everything here at SDH. So that is your QR code to kick off your day at kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hit that QR code, go in, and we want you to buy out the store. Start your day at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then you buy out the store, but you can get it at a 15% discount if you use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. So buy out the store, get 15% back, so you get 15% less, or you get all the coffee at 15% less when you check out using the code SoccerDownHere15. They in turn take 10%, reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And it looks like Chicharito might be heading back to Liga MX. And so that's where we will kind of start the day with that. There are reports all over the place as to, well, he's going to be here, he's going to be here, he's going to be doing this, he's going to be doing, and so they're trying to figure out what it looks like. And so there are multiple reports out there whether Chicharito is going to be with with the FC Juarez, or if he is going to stay in his current location. And so right now, it looks like some reports have Chicharito going to Juarez, and he'll be there for the Clausura, and he'll be there for 2026's Clausura schedule. So Sam Yorch, who is he's not a tier one, but as of right now, he is the one who's out front reporting all of this. So it appears Chicharito is going to be in Juarez for the Clausura tournament for Liga MX. What we'll try to do is we'll try to catch up with our friend John Arnold and find out what the Clausura is looking like when that kicks off. But yeah, just wanted to let you know that might be drifting into your timelines when it comes to Liga MX. And so it will be intriguing. You look at our friend Glenn Davis, who saw the report, and yeah, he'll move the freight, but is he going to be scoring goals, and is he going to be mobile, and those kinds of things. So if this does come to pass, there's nothing on Chicharito's 280 character app at present, but we will see what that looks like. And like I said, we'll try to catch up with our friend John Arnold before the Clausura kicks off, and we'll try to get the best from our buddy John and find out about Texas Tech football and all those other kinds of things. But it looks like Chicharito might be heading to a different location in Liga MX for the Clausura. And so we'll see if that does in fact come to fruition, and how it impacts Juarez and how it impacts the rest of the group heading into the Clausura in 2026. And so that is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code once again for dropping in. And right there, that is the QR code. You hit that, you kick off your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And then you use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. Then what you do is you in turn use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn, meaning Kickoff Coffee, get 10%. They reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so rundown. I'll tell you what, it's let me say hi to Ricky and Will and David this morning. And so Ricky's happy with Aston Villa, as he should be. There's a part of the discussion that we get into festive fixtures here a little bit. We'll probably focus on the bottom of the table a little bit, but we'll go through the numbers of what happened this past weekend. So big win for Villa in a nasty environment, and to see Unai Emery hopping up and down wearing a raincoat. Big numbers for them. Ollie Watkins gets a brace, and so it's a big result for Aston Villa this weekend. I'm looking at West Ham. Yeah, I'm looking at you. There are a couple of things to keep an ear out for when it comes to West Ham. There is thought that they could, they meaning Villa. I mean, they meaning West Ham, that they could be bringing back former managers to try and figure out ways to save themselves from relegation. And I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. You had folks that were walking out from the match this past weekend. You had them yelling at the board, telling them to resign, and we have, we've missed. It's like we were trying to sit here and go, okay, so what are you going to do? And so you get rid of David Moyes, and so then David Moyes goes to Everton, and you're like, what do you do? What do you do here? You're wondering now if you're going to sack Nuno, and that's going to be something that we're going to keep an eye out for this morning. But yeah, they could be going all the way back to the past to bring in folks to look at how they're going to try to save themselves, and that's a big thing that they got to save themselves with. Now, making his last appearance in 2025, we're going to set it up that way. We're going to go over greatest hits with Abe Gordon, and it's great to always see Abe. And our first question as we bring in Abe is, sir, how was the holiday now that we're in the middle of it heading toward New Year's? What did Chipper get the pony that Chipper was looking for the holidays?
Yeah, I think Chipper had a pretty good holiday. She was with her favorite pet sitter while I was out cruising the Caribbean. So I think we both had pretty good holidays over the past week and change, and back to the real world now.
So please explain to me, sir, how you enjoyed yourself in the Caribbean. Was this on a boat that was going from point A to point B, kind of like Meryl Steubing and the Julie, your cruise director kind of thing?
Yes, we did do a cruise, me, my mother, and my sister. There's another family that we have been cruising with the past couple of years, and so we did the whole Carnival Cruise Line thing.
Your favorite moment of said cruise was what?
My mom won big for her on the last night gambling, and she just doesn't know how to handle that. And so that was pretty enjoyable.
And did she share the spoils with the rest of you, or was this?
No, look, I did okay on my own, okay. and so we all bring our own money and deal with that. So glad for her to have the ability to take herself out to a nice dinner if need be.
There you go. So when you leave us and you go into the Caribbean and you have these kinds of things, we have to ask and we have to find out what's going on with your holidays. Reason that I wanted to bring you in, obviously, since the next time you come in, it will be 2026, is I wanted to kind of go over 2025 with you. I wanted to go into the Abe Gordon yearbook and look at the senior class of 2025 and find out what some of your greatest hits were from the season. And like I said, it could be Atlanta United based, it could be Major League Soccer, it could be international stuff. When it comes to some of the highlights of the season, who was homecoming king for you in 2025?
Yeah, when I look back on the MLS season, a lot of it to me has to do with kind of some of the unexpected teams that jumped up and maintained and sustained over the course of the season. I think you look, especially in the Western Conference, I think there were some real surprises at the top. San Diego was out there, Vancouver was out there, and you kind of expected maybe at times they would fall apart a little bit. They just kept it right where they needed to be. I mentioned it, especially in the playoffs, a number of times. Like Messi needs to win an MLS Cup for it to feel right in terms of justification of again, and we talked about this business versus performance, but from that aspect of things, it was like, again, I don't do the whole rivalry thing or hatred as much as other people do it. Like, especially, I don't bother with that when my team is struggling and like one win in no man's land, middle of the season, really makes a difference. Like there's just never anything to say when your team's down and like, all right, you got to win. Cool. They're still going to the playoffs and you're sitting there watching it. So I don't really do the whole rivalry bit. I don't necessarily root against the little fella or any of that stuff. I've been very open about how I wanted to see him win because I thought there was some justification. It just felt right. It really did to me. they felt like, with or without Supporter Shield, that they've been the best team in MLS since he arrived. And it was fun and great last season in the playoffs. Now that's when games do matter for Atlanta United to end that. But with Atlanta United not relevant in that discussion this year, I was looking forward to seeing it. And we got that. I do kind of wish it had been what a lot of us wanted, which was the LAFC Inter Miami matchup, and I understand that, but I thought it was nice to see him finish the season on top in MLS.
And you have Jordi Alba, retiring, Sergio Busquets retiring, Luis Suarez coming back, Rodrigo de Paul is going to be a DP. Looks like it might be Lo Celso coming in. That's a part of it. Yes, proper hydration. Absolutely true. Gio Lo Celso might be coming in on a free to be that next wave of folks. Lewandowski is being rumored to Chicago. All the big name. This is, since it's silly season, you just kind of throw everything up against the wall and see what the spaghetti does when it hits the side of the dining room table. But they're challenging Inter Miami. Messi and friends are challenging the rest of the league to be as imaginative as they are when it comes to bringing in all this talent so they can continue to sustain after what they were able to do this year.
Yeah, and I think this is where the Messi advantage comes in. Like, it's just so tough to sell any other team for guys to come in at certain salaries or transfers or this or that, whether they're in the midst of their prime or even on the back end of their career, when you don't have the ability to say, and you get to play alongside Lionel Messi. And I think it's just such a tough draw for the other teams in the league to not be able to say that. And look, there are great players all across the league. There's no one else in this league where people are interested in just lining up alongside him the way they are in Miami. And we really haven't had that, in my opinion, in this league since David Beckham came to the Galaxy, where you're just like, man, everyone wants to go play for the LA Galaxy right now. They might take smaller salaries. They might do this. They might do that. Whatever they have to sacrifice to be a member of that team, they're going to consider it. It didn't happen for anyone else, in my opinion. Like, it didn't happen. A lot of good players have come through, great players. Didn't happen when Thierry Henry came through. I never felt that way. I didn't feel like he was drawing in the way Beckham did, I don't know, what is that, 15 years ago, a decade and a half ago, whatever it was, or the way that Messi has been over the past couple of years. And so, look, that's why you bring him in. He does give you a little bit of a competitive imbalance, although you still have to play within the rules and get creative and make it work by the MLS's, 15 million page handbook of what is and isn't allowed.
Yeah.
But it's easier to do that when you can say, and you get to play alongside Messi. So the other teams can be as creative as they want. They don't have that final bargaining chip. So it'll be interesting to see which of these silly season rumors, as you put it, actually have a chance of falling out.
Yeah, and we've seen some movement already, and it happened last week in net, which was interesting to see that position be the focal point last week, where Dane St. Clair, he decides he's not interested in making more money in Minnesota, so he goes to Inter Miami. So he's going to be between the sticks. They don't renew Rocco Rios Novo's loan, so that means that Dane St. Clair and Oscar Ustari are going to be your 1A and your 1B. Drake Callender was part of the logjam in Charlotte. I guess he was insurance for Christian Kalina trying to determine his future. I guess he determined it because they end up getting a deal with Callender going north. And then you have Sean Johnson, who was in the marketplace, the Brookwood Broncos, Sean Johnson. He now is at DC United. DC United's making moves. We've seen a couple of moves with Atlanta United, but it was interesting last week to see all of the keepers kind of going in like this triangle of where you're going for next year.
Well, look, we have Jaden Hibbert here, and I don't know if he's going to be the one or not, but it was super interesting, even before some of the actual movement, to just see some of the names that were being attached. If, like, Atlanta United could go after this guy, could go after that guy. I'm like, boy, are none of these teams bringing back guys that have been very clear first-choice keepers either this season or in recent seasons. And it's going to be really interesting. I'm kind of wondering, and we may see it here in Atlanta. I'm kind of wondering if we're starting to see a youth movement at the goalie position. There's so many guys 35 plus who are still performing at a very fine level, including the now retired Brad Guzan. But it just felt like that so many guys are just kind of going younger. Maybe you can save a little bit of money at that position, something you can spend elsewhere. And for certain teams, I mean, how good is your defense? I mean, if you're good enough, you're only asking your keeper to make the routine save. Do you really need to be shelling out $500K for that guy or $800K or whatever it might cost? Can you get away with a $130,000 goalie? And but then comes the big problem, right? In the key moment, in the playoffs, what sort of qualities do they deliver? So there's always a trade-off there. But yeah, it felt like a lot of these guys, big names who have just been obvious first choice teams, were moving, and it was very surprising. And I'm very interested to see how. Look, someone's going to make multiple teams are going to make mistakes here, right? And you just don't want to be one of them. That's the thing. And I don't even mean bringing in those guys. I mean moving on from those guys. Yeah. And you're going to get stuck with situations where the guy that you have is simply not good enough. And it's going to cost teams. It's going to cost teams seeding. It's going to cost teams potentially being in or out of the playoffs. It's going to cost teams when they get to the playoffs. So I think when you play that carousel, you play the musical chairs with the goalie position, just don't be the team that gets left standing or who makes the mistake on that goalie. And whether it's Atlanta United, I think they're certainly focused there. But for all of them, there's so many guys on the move, as you pointed out, that someone is going to have it pulled right out from under them. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So you just have to make sure that that you are, that you can rock it into that chair when the music stops, because that means Toronto, and working backwards. So it's Toronto in the case of Sean Johnson leaving. It is Minnesota United with the substitution that they ended up with. Then it's Charlotte missing a number 2. Do they re-sign somebody like David Bingham and hope that Bingham can be that stopgap if something, God forbid, was to happen to Christian Kalina? So it's like you're looking at those past locations and you're kind of going, okay, is it Toronto right now? Because you're trying to figure out, okay, who's it going to be in Toronto? And that to me is the gap space that we're staring at here. Toronto right now is the one staring. They're the third guy with the 2 chairs in the middle of the gym right now.
Well, and the other thing is, and look, to be fair here, I'm not deeply knowledgeable of every team's academy or their twos or what is their example of the twos.
Right.
And so, look, some of these guys may have guys that they trust, that they've been building up, that they believe is ready for the mantle. I feel like we have that here in Atlanta, or at least I'd be comfortable if that's the direction that they go in. Maybe there's still moves to be made, but at least again, maybe not Tata, but at least I would be comfortable if it's Hibbert as your first choice. And so some of these teams may know that, may feel that, and they're going to put their trust there. But I didn't say that at the start of last year or at midseason when Goose ceded his role. I was very interested to see what we would get out of Hibbert. It was an unknown quantity, even though I know the reports from you and Maddie and Jason and Jarrett had been very complimentary of what he had been doing with some of the other squads here. Still got to see it at the MLS level. And so it's still a risk. Whether you think a guy is ready, whether he is ready, are two separate things. I think we got a good look at it last season. I thought that was important to get a good look at it from Hibbert's perspective last season. And now you can make a more informed choice. A lot of these guys, maybe you see him a little bit here and there, but yeah, it's a big jump, and it's just a risk, and you just got to weigh the salary. And to me, it always is going to come down to salary.
Yeah.
It's just, can you spend this money there? Could it be used better elsewhere? And that's pretty much every sport with the exception of baseball because of the salary cap things and just luxury tax. And maybe the MLS should institute some luxury tax and get rid of some of the salary cap restrictions and see who spends and see who doesn't. I think that would work out in Atlanta's favor, if we're going to be quite honest. But we're still playing by the rules for now. So, it's interesting to see. But I was kind of like you. I could not believe the amount of names at the netminder position that were being thrown around.
Yeah, and Atlanta United last week brings in Lucas Hoyos, who's 36, comes in from his time at Newell's to give that experience that you're looking for, either as a 1A or a 1B. That always will come out in camp, and it will come out also in practice from Monday till Friday to determine who's going to be your starting keeper. And there's also links right now with Atlanta United and a center back that would be a U22 signing, and obviously unless it's a free, you can't really say anything official until after the calendar year starts anew and the January window opens up. So right now, all it is reports. What now that you're back into the rhythm of being there at Colony Square, what is going on with you these days, sir?
Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of a wonky week. The Falcons didn't play yesterday. They played tonight, which kind of changes the focus of today's show, but was also going to change the focus of tomorrow's show. Then on Wednesday, you're leading into, obviously the college football playoffs, and Georgia's going to be playing on Thursday. So, and then no show Thursday. Everything's wonky right now, but that's good. I mean, there's big football still to be played, both at the college and pro level. Maybe not as much for the Falcons, although it is still Monday Night Football. So there's a little something there. We haven't quite hit our routine back yet. I'm filling in today and Tuesday and Wednesday on the midday show.
Okay.
I'm going to be with Randy McMichael, so looking forward to that. But it's good to be back. Yesterday, travel was a disaster.
Yes,
I woke up at like 4 a.m. on the cruise ship to a notification that our flight was canceled.
Oh,
my mom, who was in the other room with my sister, they got a notification that their flight was canceled, but they were rebooked. I got no rebook notification. So
they like them better, huh?
They rebooked them. They left me without a flight. Everything out of Miami was completely full. So if I wanted to catch a flight, I would have had to try and do standby and see what happened. So then my mom, as soon as we hit Miami and could use her phone, she called, and we eventually got a flight like yesterday, late afternoon, early evening, out of PBI. So now we got to get from Miami to Palm Beach Airport, and then when we got there, that flight got delayed for like 45 minutes, and so it was a mess. But we got home, we woke up early this morning, we ran, and we're feeling good about it.
Far out. Well, we're glad that you have survived the travel excursions of the holiday season in 25, and it's great to have you back here to discuss anything and everything going on as our perpetual leadoff hitter here on SDH AM. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're back here in one piece. Enjoy the middays with Randy. So it's Randy. It's Mac and Gordon and Mac.
It's still Andy and Randy. We're not changing any names just on my account. So it's still Andy and Randy, just with Abe this week.
Okay. So Randy and Andy with Abe. Get out of there and have fun, my friend. We'll see you next week.
You got it. Thanks, John.
All right. There goes Abe Gordon, everybody. And Abe gets to break everything down on the midday show. So you can catch up with Abe after we're done. Not now, but after we're done. Because obviously he's still got a little while before they go on the air for the midday show. So it's Randy and Andy with Abe. No Andy and Randy with Abe. 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. So it's always great to catch up with Abe. And it's always fun to sit there and find out how you survive travel. I guess this would be my secondary opening kickoff for you. Here, let me slide this over because for some strange reason it's not behaving. There we go. What did you get for the holidays? Did you get what you were looking for? Did you get the pony? Did you get the llama? What'd you get for the holidays? This will be a question for those that show up on other days this week. I'll continue to ask if you got what you were asking for the holidays. I got a lot of stuff. And thank the boss for that. I got some really cool stuff that we'll get into once it is framed, just to kind of give you an idea. Got a lot of cool stuff from our friends, and with the friends that we have in the business, we always try to horse trade the most obscure stuff possible, and so that was some fun stuff there as well. But yeah, what'd you get for the holidays? So that is the other part of this week that we can get into. What'd you get for the holidays? Did you get everything you were looking for? Run down the week for you real quick. Tomorrow, it is going to be a visit from Kaylor Hodges from at the USL show, and we're going to find out what Kaylor looked at in 2025 and what he's thinking about 2026, because we've already had a lot of player movement in USL Championship. We've had coach movement, and we're going to have teams coming online in both Championship and League One. So we're going to have that discussion with Kaylor Hodges tomorrow. See if Casey White has survived her holiday excursions, and we'll catch up with KCD and find out what's going on with her. We'll discuss women's soccer with her in both the college ranks and what she saw in Major League Soccer, what she saw in NWSL. We'll get Casey White's year in review. That'll be tomorrow. Wednesday, we'll see if the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, can hang out with us, and we'll find out what's going on with him in 2025 with Major League Soccer and what he's looking at there. No show on Thursday, obviously, because it's New Year's. So we want you to enjoy and sleep in, because Friday, once again, the Power Hour is on at 10 o'clock with Nino and Nico. Traditionally, the Power Hour is Thursday. Since we're a holiday week, Power Hour is on Friday from 10. So at 10 o'clock on Friday, it's Nino Torres, and it is 10:30. It's our buddy Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. So that's the week. We are also efforting a bunch of guests and things like that here in a holiday week, and we're cycling back on some requests that we had, and so we're seeing if it's going to be this week or if people are taking this week off too, and we start things in 26 with what you're staring at there. So that is the week as we know it, and continue proper hydration as well. Hang on just a second. Yeah, one of the things I got was an electric toothbrush. Haven't had an electric toothbrush in decades, but when I went to the orthodontist, they stared at my teeth and they were like, dude, you got to work on this better. So get an electric toothbrush. And so I asked the boss, because she had one. And so the boss and the boss's boss got me one of those. That was a part of everything else. So that was part of the uniqueness that happened in the stocking on Festivus Day was an electric toothbrush. I know that may not necessarily sound exciting, but it was kind of necessary. Let's see what else is going on. So Abby, good morning. Jordan, good morning. And morning, David. David says, I was talking about getting ponies and llamas, and I say that, and David says, my kids rode their cousin's horse and had 3 baby goats born on the 26th. That's actually pretty cool. So they got to experience the miracle of birth. Very, very cool. Let's see. So morning, Will. Will's happy about Caleb Williams. Ricky's happy about Aston Villa. And David is in this morning as well. So good morning to everybody who is chiming in. Once again, your thoughts and what you got under your Festivus stocking, and if you got the pony or the llama or the brand spanking new Lexus 450 that comes bursting through the snow. So the husband gets the wife a Burmese puppy, and then you end up with the wife getting the Lexus for the husband. Good. Okay. And that was faux Boxing Day. And so how did Abby, did you go to the scarf exchange? Because I was still trying to get in gear on Saturday. So the scarf exchange, I think, was at Brewhouse, if I'm not mistaken. So how was that on Saturday morning for those of you that went? So let me know about that. Okay. So here is and Jordan was there as well. Good deal. All right. So here is what I was trying to say about West Ham, and they might be going back to Slaven Bilic if they sacked Nuno. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. When you sent me the picture with the SDH network glass with the OJ, yes, of course you were there. They might be going back to Slaven Bilic, and literally like 7 years ago. 7 years ago was when Slaven Bilic was hanging around, and so if you end up with Nuno getting sacked, as all of the ideas that are out there, Slaven Bilic might be the way they go back. And according to the Athletic, Nuno is saying that they need to rebalance the squad. He had his Monday press conference. Needs to rebalance the squad during the January window. They're in the relegation zone, 5 points adrift after the 1-0 loss to Fulham on Saturday. 7-game winless, 2 victories against Newcastle and Burnley since Nuno succeeded Graham Potter in late September. Nuno wants a defender and a striker. January, Toulouse defender Charlie Cresswell is a top target, and interest in Jurgen Strand-Larsen and Slavia Prague forward Mojmir Cheetel. So that's what Roshane Thomas is telling us right now. And if you go to Slavia Prague, you might be able to get Cheetel on the cheap, and Jurgen Strand-Larsen, you're going to have to pay for that one. And that goes back to the interest of Sam Surridge by Wolves. Is that a Jurgen Strand-Larsen substitution, or is that an addition? That would be the big question for me. Nuno's Saturday pre-match before the game with Brighton. We need to rebalance the squad. Time to focus on Brighton. Club's working on targets, and when the transfer window is open, we'll make decisions. Positions where we need to have more options. Facing multiple departures in the upcoming window, which begins obviously New Year's Day. Nicholas Füllkrug is going to join AC Milan on loan. And he scored 3 goals in 29 appearances after a £27 million switch from Dortmund in August of 24. James Ward-Prowse has not featured at all. A set-piece specialist in the Premier League, James Ward-Prowse has not featured. Rob Mack and Ryan on line 1. Andy Irving, George Earthy, Louis Guilherme, Mohamedou Kante, and Callum Marshall expected to leave on loan. Kyle Walker-Peters basically said on social, stick with us. I think today showed we're definitely still fighting, have chances to win games. I don't see it, but okay, fine. Basically, I'd be like, good luck. So that is where you're looking at things right now involving West Ham. You got some interest in the Antoine Semenyo sweepstakes, and it looks like Semenyo wants his future figured out by January 1st. Manchester City seems to be at the front of the line. They're the most serious, and they're already looking like they're starting to negotiate, according to our buddy Ben Jacobs. Liverpool still have no plans to sign. Arsenal, no plans to sign. Chelsea was the first to back out. Manchester United is kind of there. Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs doing double duty on this one. Formal talks underway with Bournemouth. And that has been double confirmed by Alex Crook. So it looks like Antoine Semenyo, with the £65 million release clause, right now is just with Manchester City. So on the weekend, the Argentinian defenseman. Yeah, that was. Let me get the search on that, because it was a $5 million. I think it was a $5 million release, if I'm not mistaken. So Tomas Jakob, Argentine center back from Necaxa, fee in the ballpark of $5 million, according to Tommy Scoops 2 days ago. Jakob would be, through the U22, a product of the Newell's Academy. So once again, there's your Newell's connections. Lucas Hoyos in net. Tomas Jakob, 21, from the Newell's Academy. And Necaxa, 50 appearances for the Newell's Academy, 17 for Necaxa. Finalizing a deal to sign the center back, according to Tommy Scoops. So let's check the numbers on Tomas Jakob. Have not seen anything outside of the Tom Bogert report. So Tomas Jakob right now, April 20th would be his 22nd birthday. Under contract through the end of the fiscal year, the 30 fiscal year, June 30, 2030 is when his contract expires. Universal 22 is his agency. And this is another thing to look at when you're looking at the agencies and their clients. If you see clients and this kind of thing, Transfermarkt has a really good breakdown of who agent, who your agents are and who the clients are inside those agencies. And so if you look inside agencies and you see some similarities, then that's something also to have as a part of your investigatory elements when it comes to these players. Okay, so who's the agent, what's the agency, and who else is there? So if you see one name, maybe there's another name that's attached. And so this agency that is attached to Tomas Jakob has Isak, Buendia, Emi Martinez, Ronaldo Martinez, Dominic Livakovic, Pedro de la Vega from Seattle. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else that is and there are a lot of players outside of the. I'll go back to the lead market value in a second. Nemanja Matic at 37 is a part of this agency. There are a lot of players that are in the low seven-figure range when it comes to value according to Transfermarkt. And so as I sit here and try to go through the 85 first-team players that are attached to this particular agency, let's see. I've already gone past our old friend Lisandro Lopez is also attached to this agency. Marko Mitrovic is there, and Benny. I've never heard of Benny before. So I'm trying to see if there's anybody else, literally in the 250,000 euro range, that is there. The answer is no. So. There are a lot of players that are listed. You have Martin Perelman, who's a manager that's attached to this agency. But you've got a lot of players that are in that seven-figure range. Really, the only players that have blown the curve with this agency are Isak, Mile Svilar with Roma, Emi Buendia, and Emi Martinez, who are both at Aston Villa. Those are the only ones that are 8 or 9 figures with this agency. Everybody else, 7 figures or below. And you look at De La Vega, like I said, De La Vega was one of those you sit there and go, oh, okay. So Pedro De La Vega is attached to this agency as well. So this agency, Universal 22, does have links to players 85 in the first tier. Rumors attached to Universal 22 players, just to have them out there. As I sit here and look quickly, Ronaldo Martinez to Pumas, Lisandro Lopez, who is currently injured, and it looks like it would be with Rosario Central. No truth to that at the moment. Let's see. Going back to the 27th, Dominic Livakovic and Dinamo Zagreb would be interested. And, okay, so it's interesting that the rumor involving Tomas Jakob is not currently on the page that is attached to rumors for U22 and Transfermarkt. So that's interesting. So keep an eye on that. Once again, the transfer history with Jakob going from 14 appearances in the Apertura out of 16 games. He had 2 yellows and a goal. Central midfield is his main position, but he has played center back and right back. So it is a center back, right back, central midfielder right now. His market value is the highest that it's ever been at €1.5 million. And you can also follow him on his IG account. And we will certainly do that now because he's got 15,600 followers on his IG. So we'll keep an eye on Tomas Jakob. But right now, central midfielder, center back, and he's played some right back. And that's what you're staring at involving Tomas Jakob at the moment. So, like I said, we'll keep an eye on that particular rumor, but nothing there yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. And like I said, if you see a rumor with a particular player, go to Transfermarkt, look at the agency that is doing the negotiating for them. Transfermarkt does a really good job. First team players that are attached to this agency, and then from there they go into rumors. And so there's no rumor in Transfermarkt attached to Tomas Jakob and Atlanta United at the moment. So we'll see. We'll see. Is Tommy Scoops ahead of Transfermarkt, or is Transfermarkt behind? We'll find out because of the holidays. All right. Let's get into the rest of the Premier League here, since we are discussing it. And I was mentioning just how bad things are right now for West Ham. Over the weekend, as we begin festive fixtures in earnest, once again, nothing today, by the way. Tomorrow you have 6 matchups, and then you have none on Wednesday. You have 4 on New Year's Day, and then you have 4 on Saturday. Then you have 6 on Sunday. And so that gets you through festive fixtures. What happened over the weekend, you end up with Spurs getting a win at Crystal Palace. Should have scored more, perhaps, but once again, Richarlison was a victim of an offside call, well offside. And then Sunderland and Leeds, a 1-1 draw. So Leeds continues to get a point. Sunderland continues to maintain upper half with their defense. Villa beats Chelsea 2-1 at a plus 322. That was a big win for them on the road. Arsenal, big favorite at home, beat Brighton 2-1. Brentford put 4 on Bournemouth at the G-Tech, which probably sent up a lot of flares for Andoni Iraola. Burnley and Everton goalless draw, so you end up with a shutout for Jordan Pickford. Liverpool beat Wolves 2-1. Took them a while, but they finally did get it done at a minus 417. Fulham over West Ham 1-0. Manchester City. And we'll get into one particular call in this game with Bart coming up in about 10 minutes. Cards and calls, Morgan Gibbs-White, and a key moment in that particular game where Nottingham Forest feel aggrieved. Sean Dyche probably is going to get an envelope from the league about what he said. And we'll go over that particular call. We've got a couple of calls to get into, and just so something philosophically that I was wondering about when it comes to a judgment of a particular action on the field that I wanted to get into with Bart when he joins us in about 10 minutes. And then Manchester United started that last round of festive fixtures 1-0 win over Newcastle. So that sets up where we are heading into tomorrow. Arsenal 2 points clear of Manchester City, 3 points clear of Villa. Right now it's a 3-horse race. Arsenal's percentage of winning the Premier League has dropped, I think, like 2.5% because of what happened on the weekend. Group 2, the Chase Group, Liverpool's 3 points clear. They're unbeaten in 5. They've won 3 in a row. Chelsea right now, they've hit each column once in their last 3. They're at 29 points ahead of Manchester United on goal difference. Sunderland right now, 7th, one of the surprises in the league. They've only lost once in their last 5, but they've drawn 3. So they're 1-1-3 in their 1-3-1 in their last 5. So Sunderland's at 28 points. Brentford's at 26. They've won 2 in a row. Palace has lost 3 in a row. Oliver Glasner has been kind of hitting the panic button a little bit, saying that we need some reinforcements in January. Remember, they've got to play 9 matches in a month because they couldn't get the job done in European competition. And so you're really looking at folks coming back from international duty and the AFCON tournament having to plug themselves back in to play 9 games in a month for Crystal Palace. It's not looking all that optimistic right now. But they're ahead of Fulham on goal difference. That's 9 and 10. Spurs is in 11th at 25, ahead of Everton on goal difference. David Moyes tried to do a explanation about Jack Grealish, and tried to kind of explain that Jack Grealish was ill when pictures were that he had kind of had a night out. Grealish in his bed sick after being struck down with a virus for the Burnley match. Evertonian boos at the final whistle. Grealish had reportedly enjoyed, and this is from our friends at the Times, Grealish had reportedly enjoyed a night out on the town in London the day after playing in last Saturday's home defeat by Arsenal, and was ill when he reported back for training 48 hours later. That left David Moyes without his most creative players, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall injured, Iliman Ndiaye with Senegal at AFCON, and Jack Grealish. Moyes said when he was pressed on the ailment, quote, "I can expand, but I don't think I need to. Had a bit of a bug. He's sick. He trained with us on Tuesday. Just didn't feel so good." And so Kyle Walker might have been feeling under the weather as well. But Grealish and Walker apparently were at the same Christmas celebration when Kyle Walker seemed to be okay. Energetic performance at wingback, according to the Times. Scott Parker's side was looking for a point, couldn't quite get it. But Scott Parker, once again, 7 successive losses. They've now drawn their last 2. We'll get into that in a sec. So, yeah, they didn't quite David Moyes had the opportunity to expand on it, but he didn't. Didn't do it. So then you look at once again, you check out the standings. Everton right now in 12th. Snapped a 2-game losing streak with that draw. Brighton in 13th. They're 6s across the board. 24 points. Newcastle at 23. They've lost 2 of 3. 1 point in those matches. Bournemouth, 3 draws in their last 5. 22 points in 15th. Leeds is drawn. They're unbeaten in 5. They've drawn 3 of 4. Leeds is at 20 points at 5, 5, and 8. Forest has lost 3 of 4 under Sean Dyche. And they are 5 points clear of West Ham, who have lost 3 in a row. West Ham have won only 3 times this season in 18. You fire Graham Potter, you've got Nuno. Nuno isn't really doing any better, and you might be looking at Slaven Bilic. So West Ham, 5 points away from safety. They're in 18th. Burnley has drawn their last 2. They're at 12 points. Wolves have not won in their first 18. They could be getting to the halfway point of the season and having not won a match. Next match is at Old Trafford, by the way, tomorrow. We'll get into juice boxes and other news about it tomorrow. But Wolves right now, no wins, 2 draws, 16 losses. They've scored 10 and 18. They've given up 39. Goal difference of minus 29 points. And they are at 2 points, 1 match shy of the halfway point. That, I believe, is referred to as not really that good. So that's what you're staring at with the Premier League right now. And it's a long slog, brother. I'll tell you that right now. Morning, Lokeville. And Wrexham is yes, Abby's looking ahead in my rundown at 2:45. Wrexham is a part of the EFL Championship that you'll be able to see on Paramount Plus. Yeah, so so Ropes is like, here, requests. Ask Bart about the handball no call in the Everton match. Okay, we'll put that on. And Ropes, if I forget, remind me. Jordan says the Spurs schedule difficulty finally eases in January minus Champions League. Lokeville right now, there's a keeper who has come in on a free from Newell's. And there is a link to a player who is at Necaxa who has come through Newell's Academy. So you see where Tata Martino and Chris Henderson are working at present. No secondary notification on Tomas Jakob coming to Atlanta United. Tom Bogert is the only one who has reported it. It was 2 days ago. Haven't seen anything since. But remember, the January window opens up soon. Then you probably will see things pick up speed outside of Major League Soccer for folks coming inbound. You can do if you're out of contract, you can do the intra-league transactions, as we've seen at the keeper position, like we were talking about with Abe. But anything outside of intra-league, that's in January. So we got a couple days, and we can kind of sit there and see where the land is. And then we'll figure out where things are. But right now, another keeper, a veteran keeper this time, 36 years old, comes from Newell's Old Boys. And then you're looking at where you want to add things or subtract things from there. Ropes, would love to see a workup of Premier League teams formed during AFCON with number of players out from international play. Yeah, no doubt. That would be an interesting statistic. So we'll see if anybody has done that kind of empirical work when it comes to what we're staring at with AFCON. Like I said, after Bart this morning, we'll get you ready for match day 3. That's heading in at 11 o'clock. We've got juice boxes and previews and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, proper hydration. Because when I was on the road last week, a member of the extended family decided to wander around and be sick as a dog in front of all of us. And so I have been trying to combat said illness as we go and try and figure out, okay, short of Zycamming myself to death, which I have been doing over the last 3 or 4 days, how else I can combat this. But yes, he has been cursed under the collective breath for trying. He wanted to be a part of the weekend, and so you try and avoid him at the same time. You're trying to be joyous about the holiday week and all those kinds of things. But we're trying not to get we're all of us trying not to get sick from integrating with this particular individual under the family tree back on Christmas. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. I filibustered to 10 o'clock on purpose. All right, so now it's time to bring in Bart Keeler. Couple of things to get into with Bart. We've got cards and calls. We've got Yanks abroad. I did have a philosophical question to ask Bart about, but I also wanted to get Bart's thoughts on the NWSL getting hip. And so with hour number 2, it is time to bring in Bart Keeler, who is that good, huh?
John, it was a great holiday weekend that was ruined by the looming conversation we were going to have about NWSL being
hip.
Dumb.
Okay.
Dumb.
All right.
But I am great. I hope. I know you were sick. Sorry to hear that. I hope everyone else had a decent holiday.
I'm fighting it now. I'm fighting it presently, and so that's why I'm having to constantly hydrate, because I'm Zycamming myself to death. And literally, they're like, okay, every 3 or 4 hours or until you need it. And I'm like, okay, well, then we're going to keep going. And so literally it was, and this one individual who is about as headstrong as it gets, it's like, just go lay down, have a cold. It's okay. But they still wanted to integrate and be a part of everything and all that. And so I need to take stock with the boss and myself and anybody else that was around this individual. How many has this individual rubbed off on? And for full disclosure, it was my brother-in-law. So we'll see. We'll see if he's over it and has just passed it on to the rest of us as I continue to fight through it. Okay. So do you want to start with the NWSL getting hip? Do you want to go there?
Let's start with it. Start with it.
Okay, because over this week and next, if we don't get into 2025's Bart Keeler High School Yearbook and look at soccer and find out who homecoming king and queen were and Miss Congeniality and most likely to succeed and all that kind of stuff, and who just got their yearbook signed by the librarian. Thank you for returning all of your books on time. You're a great student. So the yearbook exists. That might be some this week, some next week as we get into 26. Okay, so NWSL and HIP. This is something that we've been discussing for the last couple of weeks, and it is something that when you and I were getting into the discussion, explaining the rule now that it is up and running. So it is now allowing stars to be paid up to $1 million above the current salary cap. So it's the high impact player rule. And like I said, I refer to it as like the DP or the Larry Bird exception, whatever, because calling it the HIP rule, there's too many jokes that can be made and it's too easy. So you're trying to keep Trinity Rodman in the league. And it also looks like Katerina Macario might be, being courted by Bay.
We'll see. Yeah.
And so, like I said, that's once again, that's where we are in this time of the calendar. Where
she's had some success in the Bay Area playing soccer. So,
Yes. So it appears that there has been some tire kicking, some reports that Kat Macario and Bay FC might be kicking tires on something, on a future relationship. So league source previously said the mechanism was, quote, bigger than one player. Now, the new rule allows players to be paid above the salary cap as established by the league CBA if they meet certain criteria. The criteria are driving me crazy. And to me, it is restraint. It is restraint of trade specifically. The NWSL releases details of the criteria, metrics including Ballon d'Or top 30, appearing on annual lists compiled by sports publications that rank the world's best players, and game time for the U.S. women's national team. The league says that the rule change could add up to $115 million in additional compensation through the existing CBA, which runs through 2030. And this is from the article with Olsen and Griffin from The Athletic. Designed to provide clubs with expanded flexibility to attract and retain high-impact players, close quote. Does not take effect until July 1st, but teams can sign qualified players immediately as long as the use of the rule does not start until the stated date. Jessica Berman in the announcement. Quote, ensuring our teams can compete for the best players in the world is critical to the continued growth of our league. NWSL PA opposed the league's decision to move forward with the rule's implementation without formally bargaining with them after the union rejected the proposed rule last week. Exec Director Megan Burke told The Athletic they didn't think the league, quote, clearly thought through all of the practical implementation, end quote, of the rule. Burke, the union, in a statement. Under federal labor law, changes to compensation under the salary cap are a mandatory subject of bargaining, not a matter of unilateral discretion. Fair pay is realized through fair, collectively bargained compensation systems, not arbitrary classifications. A league that truly believes in the value of its players would not be afraid to bargain over it, end quote. Bookmark. Okay, go.
Well, John, I think we have two issues here. First being, I think we agree, you and I specifically, that the HIP idea is not the most terrible thing, right? Allowing a roster designation and a salary budget designation for a player or however many they want, which I will say that is the only silver lining in all this, is it does not seem to be a cap on how many players have to be or could be. I mean, in theory, you could have 10 players all making
right, but
$100,000 more. But but that's obviously not going to be. But you get my point, right?
Yeah.
But what we disagree with vehemently, I think, is the stupid, inconsistent, and downright biased way that they are making teams justify spending money on these players. This reeks of stupid MLS rule imposed by owners who don't actually want to spend money.
Okay.
This seems like something that a certain owner of an MLS club in, I don't know, let's say a Missouri River bordering state that is not the namesake of that state, or a certain club that plays in a Pacific Northwest city that is not in the United States. This seems like a rule that those types of folks would come up with because they understand the need for the visual that, we're spending more money, but actually have zero desire to do so. And that is the first problem, that I think that the rule itself, right, this mechanism doesn't make sense. Because, first off, there's like a lot of addendums to this. There's category A or 1, subcategory A. So we've covered 1A.
Right.
1B is, or maybe 1A1, is the metrics they're using are inherently biased. How many times, maybe not on this show, but have you listened to me or people on this side of the pond rant about women's soccer listicles? We could go through the BBC article recently where there's not an American in like the top 25, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
But, or you look at the FIFA Pro list and it's basically all England and Spain players, and you're going, where's Bunny Shaw, the most prolific scorer in the WSL? Where is any U.S. women's national team player, right? Including the ones who play in these leagues that y'all tell us are the best that have ever existed, right? That is a problem. That is inherently a problem. We know the Ballon d'Or is an incredibly flawed system that rewards Europeans and non-Europeans who happen to do well in tournaments during that particular year. But not really, because Americans still get shafted out of it as long as you're a player who plays for Barcelona. It doesn't make sense, right? So under these metrics, it's like you get, listen, and I'm not saying we shouldn't go get her, but Aitana Bonmati and Alexa Putellas, and for some reason still Lucy Bronze, okay? Those are the players you're looking at. They come in here, but like a player, we'll just use her as an example because I think she technically qualifies, but is so far down these lists that she, I think would struggle if she's not getting USWNT minutes. We'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
Emily Fox is a great example of, okay, well, she's very lowly ranked on these lists, partially because she is a right back. Let's just call a spade, and they don't like to give credit to defenders the way they should. Shout out to all the defenders in the chat. But, there's her. There's a player, Sam Coffey, to me, would be a great example of this, who deserves, I think, in my opinion, to be a high impact player, right? You look at her production for Thorns and the women's national team and you go, well, there she is. But luckily, John, they're in the top 11 minutes for the U.S. women's national team. And now we've gone backwards into the time when U.S. soccer was subsidizing NWSL player salaries because they played for the national team. And it's not quite the same, but you're going, okay, wait, why does why the women's national team? What about Timo Shawinga, who, as we've talked about, deserves this, right? Barbara Banda, who deserves this. They're not getting the love that they deserve from a lot of these listicle publications, and they're never going to qualify under the women's national team.
Metric.
That's I think if you want to say, I think it shouldn't be, top, what was it, 11 for women's national team. I think it should be all national teams. Like if you are a top minutes earner for your national team, that is a way to judge. And that's just the thing, is now we're arguing with the criteria instead of saying these criteria are dumb. If you as an owner feel like this player is a high impact player for you and your team, pay them more. That's just where it should be. And that's where somehow they've created a rule that's more confusing than MLS could create. And that's crazy. How did you do that? Congratulations, NWSL. You made something more convoluted than your men's league, which is quite the accomplishment.
So here's the addition. Tamara Griffin wrote something on Christmas Eve Day. So here's the update to this. So
by the way, bless all the NWSL reporters who had to cover this during the holidays, because I'm sure this is not the gift they wanted.
Right. A player needs to only satisfy one of 8 metrics outlined by the rule. Once again, geared, and this is Griffin's wording in her article, with each geared toward quantifying their skill set and commercial marketability. Once again, here's your rundown. Top 30 Ballon d'Or, top 40 among the Guardian's top 100 footballers, or the top 40 of ESPN FC's top 50 football players in the world in the 2 years before the current league season. The player can also have made Sports Pro Media's list of the 150 most marketable athletes within a year of the current league season. Now, to your point, player can also qualify if they rank among the top 11 U.S. women's national team players with the most minutes in the last 2 calendar years. A keeper would need to have played the most minutes in that position with the USWNT, or a high-impact player, as defined by the league, could include anyone who was selected as a league MVP finalist or was named to the year-end best 11 first team within the last 2 seasons. And so that's your criteria as listed by Tamara Griffin over at The Athletic. Megan Burke, once again, NWSLPA. Players feel that this is a rushed decision to solve a short-term problem that will have long-term consequences, sharing the belief it circumvents this collective bargaining process, unilaterally establishes criteria that relies on third-party publications to drive player compensation, end quote. They added, it quote, privileges a biased voting system that heavily favors European players and does not account for, to the point that you were making, high impact that Brazilian, African, and Japanese players have had and will continue to have on the NWSL, end quote.
So I do want a point of clarification. In the Guardian top 100 or top 100 footballers, okay, Timo Shawinga and Barbara Banda are both in the top 15. Khadija Shaw is number 18. But do you want to know the highest ranked U.S. women's national team player on that list?
Hit me.
It's Emily Fox. You know where she lands?
42.
24.
Okay.
24, John.
Okay.
So the high, and this is just, look, we're wearing a U.S. shirt today, so hey. But you're telling me the highest ranked player of the number 2 ranked team in the world, the team that is a current reigning gold medalist, and the team that has 4 total World Cups, right? The highest ranked player on the Guardian list is number 24. Oh, and it happens to be the one who plays in the Women's Super League. Just so happens, right? After that, you have Lindsay Heaps at 27. Trinity Rodman, this is the Trinity Rodman rule, right? Where we jokingly call it that.
Yeah.
She barely comes in at number 35. Right? At the top 50. So you only have 3 U.S. women's national team players in the top 50, yet you have like 12 Spain players, right? What are we doing here?
Griffin continues, of the 50 voters invited to participate in Ballon d'Or, 29 based in Europe. Nigeria was the only African country to vote, and no players from the continent of Asia landed in the top 30. Griffin, the Guardian.
Japan team, by the way, who has given fits to the U.S. and every other national team they played. We can talk about Brazil. They have Mart on here. That's about it. But Brazil, by the way, beat England the last time they played each other. Interesting. Brazil, by the way, a silver medalist at the last major tournament. I'm sorry that Europeans don't think the Olympics matter. That's a you problem, not an us problem. Sorry, we go out and try to win every tournament we play in. Y'all just try that, maybe.
2025 Sports Pro Most Marketable list, Alexia Putellas, highest-ranking women's footballer at 36. Media and Events Company says it compiles the yearly list based on an athlete's brand strength, addressable market.
Which is insane because you have Trinity Rodman. Like, I'm sorry, that just, like, to me, and nothing against Putellas, who is a wonderful player. Like, that's the problem we're getting into here, is now we're trying to argue that Aitana Bonmati and Mariona Caldente and Alexa Putellas aren't good at soccer. Like, that's just stupid. Like, I'm not arguing against them. That's not what we're trying to do, right? Like, it's just saying that there's no way that Putellas, who has been hurt on and off for the past 5 years, basically since the 2023 World Cup, isn't, maybe not 5 years, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Isn't deserving of that spot. She is a great player, but she's just not at that level anymore. That's okay to say, right? And a little bit, and I hate to say this because I do love her, a little bit on the same side as Lindsay Heap. She's getting a lot of cachet for things she has done in her career, not where she's at currently. And that's the other problem with a lot of these lists in the women's soccer game, is they're judging people based on what they have done, not what they are doing. So again, yes, you only have to meet one of the 8 criteria, but again, a top 11 women's national team minutes. Well, that's kind of hard. We'll talk about her when we get to. We'll talk about some of these when we get to my list. But like, you're telling me Jaden Shaw isn't a hip player? She was hurt a lot this year, so she wasn't playing for the national team. She wasn't playing for her club. Like, that just, those things don't connect, John.
Other women's football players on the list. This is Sports Pro's Most Marketable in 25. Beth Mead at 46. Bonmati at 63. Lucy Bronze and Mary Earps at 70 and 71. Millie Bright at 79. Trinity Rodman at 120. 120th on the list of the Sports Pro Most Marketable from 2025.
That's crazy because Trinity Rodman is in actual commercials.
Mape Leon at 120
in the U.S.
Yeah. Lindsay Heaps at 127. Lauren James, Sophia Wilson, and Marta, 137 to 139. Pernille Harder, 141. Patrick Guijarro at 146. Kara Walsh and Sama Pariuelo at 149 and 150. Once again, the point is made. African and Asian players are missing, as are South American players outside of Marta. Most of the same players also can't qualify with high-impact USWNT minutes, leaving only Ballon d'Or, Guardian, ESPN FC, and NWSL awards as realistic pathways for those players. And so now there's an ability to adjust the rules, and so there's an idea there. Current NWSL players who don't meet criteria but would otherwise be considered high impact: Lacey Santos, Rosamond Kouassi, Rebecca Bernal, and Gift Monday, Dudinia and Gia Corley, Hina Sugita, Claudia Dickey, or Taylor Flint. And the player, and this is the point that I have made, and this is in her copy. Or even more worrying, the players who have yet to be discovered. Those players are automatically excluded because the rules require them to have proven their worth in some way, whether through their accomplishments on the field or their marketability off it. And so that, to me, is the larger hook in all of this. If you don't trust your front office, plural, front offices would be the plural. If you don't trust your front offices within your own league to judge talent that they deem to be DP, then what are they doing?
And that's, I think, where we're both at, John, is I think it's fine to put up some financial barriers of, okay, they need to have, you have to qualify by making X amount of money, and then you can make more, right? Again, I think the DP rule from MLS was almost too good to copy and paste, maybe, is what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Because It really is saying, like, look, anyone who makes above basically the player maximum, which
Right.
they don't really have in NWSL, but like, you could do that.
Yeah.
Is now looking at a high impact player thing. That's fine.
Sure.
Or, you could just be egalitarian about it and say, look, if the team wants to designate them as a high impact player and give them, a slice of whatever amount of money they end up coming to,
Yeah.
That's fine. But that again, John, the problem here is this brings up the law.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the Players Association did not like this rule.
Right.
They came back with, I think a very modest proposal to barter, right? Like this is a bargaining situation. We are in negotiations.
Mhm.
So they said, okay, this is what you want to do. This is what we want to do. We're saying just increase it by $1 million. Don't have any restrictions.
Yeah.
The owner's going, no, we want to increase it by $1 million, but we're going to put all these restrictions on it for whatever reason. There's a middle ground, not even a middle ground. There is ground in the middle of this, somewhere between these two, that you can find it and say, okay, well, maybe we increase the overall salary cap by $250.
Yeah.
While also carving out another $500,000 for, or whatever, for these high impact. Like,
if you take that million number, then
which I think both sides have agreed upon.
That's fine. And so if you take that million, say, and if you were to randomly just sit there and go, okay, how about this? If we trim the million number that you can pay above and beyond, although I like the million just as a round number and it proves a player's worth.
It's also not that much money in the grand scheme.
In the grand scheme of things. And when you have some owners in the NWSL who are not afraid to spend money, and we've seen this, it is like any other league where you're going to have those owners that want to and others that don't. If they want to develop players through a youth system, that should be their prerogative. If they want to spend money, that should be their prerogative. I would be fine with expanding the overall cap an X amount. If you expanded the cap another $1 million, that's fine. If you don't, then sit there and take that million that you want to sit there and expand the if you want to pay the DP, the NWSL DP, that $1 million, add money that you don't use. How about this? Money that you don't use in that million that you would pay your NWSL DP, that gets added to your cap figure.
Sure. Yeah.
And so if you only wanted to pay, if you only had one NWSL DP and you wanted to pay that individual an extra $500,000 a year, okay, cool. You've got $500,000 left over. Add that to your cap to bring in players that would be those high-level TAM players that we talk about in Major League Soccer. And so they're right up against it, but they're not a DP yet. They could be if you wanted. So take that $1 million and just kind of figure out, okay, what if we use that $1 million to wiggle around and either pay a DP or boost our own cap? That gives yourself some financial flexibility. Like I said, I'm just spitballing this right now with you. It's an idea.
And that's the thing that bothers me, is it seems like the owners haven't wanted to put any actual thought into this, right? This seems like someone had a brainstorming. Someone coming from the creative world, brainstorming sessions can be really fun. They can also be really bad because someone came up with an idea and they did the whole plussing thing that Disney started decades ago, where you're not allowed to say no to an argument. You can only say yes or build on it. And they went, oh, I like that. What if we do that? And then they came up with this amalgamation of a stupid rule, right? And again, it's not so much that we're having a high impact player rule, because I agree with you, John. Like I think that's a great solution, right? Of, hey, you have $1 million, you can either give that to designated players who make above a certain salary, who are at the salary limit, and you need to pay them more, or you can spread that out to the rest of your roster. Those are multiple ways to build a roster, right? Both could be very successful, depending on how you use it.
Yeah.
It just gives a little bit more freedom. That's fine. Everyone wants the same thing from NWSL. It's just to spend a little bit more money to keep up with Chelsea and Lyon buying all these players, right?
Yes.
That's what's happening.
Yes.
Barcelona's getting into it too. Not quite as much because they do have a great academy system.
Well,
but
and
Bayern Munich is also starting to spend money.
Pay money, man. I just like,
yeah.
Bart's
Well,
being in $1 gazillion of debt.
Bayern Munich's also starting to go, oh, we can do this. We can spend money on the women's team and be good. That, they're figuring it out as well. It just is really frustrating that, again, the Players Association said, hey, here's a little bit simpler solution. Just expand it by $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Players Association is looking at this going, this will help, in theory, all players, because that means everyone could have a slice of the $1 million pie.
Right.
As opposed to 3 players having a slice of the $1 million pie, or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
Or, as you pointed out, worse, I think teams don't utilize it.
I mean,
And then there's $1 million just sitting there. And so I like your solution a lot, John.
I mean, just if you don't, if you get that extra $1 million added to your coffers, fine. If you want to spend it on academy players, great. You want to spend it on infrastructure, fine. You want to spend it on players that have been lifers for you, just you take that $1 million, do whatever you want with it. You can add it to your cap. You can sit there and give 5 players an extra $100,000 each. You can whatever. Take that $1 million and play with it however you want. I still think, though, being a free market kind of guy and having to compete against what's going on in Europe, make a messy rule. Yeah, and that's where I thought this was going initially when you were having the NWSL trying to be hip. I thought that's where they were going with it, but I think you still need to head in that direction. Bring the stars in, and if you want to have that maxed out player and then work on endorsements and prove these listicles wrong about marketability for Trinity Rodman et al. There are so many ways that the NWSL could be a fantastic example to the European continent. Hey, we're the best league top to bottom in the world. Here's how we're going to address this. And we're going to bring and it's like, look, I would love it if Jessica Berman was at Cape Hatteras or Martha's Vineyard and had an NWSL flag and just planted it and stared across the Atlantic Ocean at everybody in Europe. And it's like, all right, game on, bang. And it's just like, all right, we got owners that are serious. Michelle Kang knows what it's like in Europe, and she knows what it's like in Washington.
Yep.
She would be one of those. It's like, all right, look, you want to do this? Let's do this. You want to do the messy thing with Trinity Rodman? You do the messy thing with Trinity Rodman. You max out her salary, you turn her into a DP, and you work on the endorsement deals so she stays. Chase these deals that that can be there for the marketability of all of your players. And then when those players are marketable, that makes your league more marketable, I would imagine. When you have all of these talent and all of these players where the checks don't bounce and you ain't worried about where direct deposits coming from.
Well, and that is still, I think, overall, and we'll address some of the comments in the chat, because this is just, it's one of those things that I think is very important to the health and growth of soccer in this country. We are at a major inflection point. Now, luckily here in the US, we have had multiple inflection points in the women's game that have allowed us to continue to grow. NWSL is still the most prosperous and long-standing league that we've had in this country. And John, as you and I will both fight, it is still the best top to bottom league in the world. Top to bottom.
Yep.
And so really when you're looking at this, you are trying to keep players like Alyssa Thompson, Naomi Girma, and Trinity Rodman from leaving for better money. That's basically what it comes to.
Yeah.
I don't think Emily Fox necessarily left for better money to Arsenal. Now, a little bit, that's probably to do with it. But, I think she felt, no, I want to go here. This seems like a better way to build my career. That's fine. Players like Lindsay Heaps, Lily Johannes, even Corbin Schrader, they have found themselves a great career, right, in the European. That's fine. That is good. We want diversity on our national team. And that doesn't just mean your skin color, it also means your background and how you play and where you play. That's a good thing, right? But what we don't want is, like we saw this year with Alyssa Thompson going, well, you can't pay me what Chelsea can pay me.
Yeah.
And Alyssa Thompson is one of those high-impact players on and off the field. Let's be real honest, right? She is someone who I think it's fair to say has earned her starting spot in the national team over multiple years of good production, and is making a case for herself that even when our best players like Sophia Wilson or Mal Swanson are coming back, she could say, "This is my spot. You got to win it back from me," right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where she's at. You want your stars you want your domestic stars in your league. There's nothing wrong with saying that, right?
Yeah.
You just don't want them to leave because of money,
Mm-hmm.
or feel like maybe a team couldn't give her the money to match. Now, it's very possible, and again, I'll go back to the Emily Fox example. Louisville probably did not see the worth of paying a right back a little bit more money just to keep her.
Well, and
No offense, I think Emily Fox is great. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Louisville, when it comes to budgetary constraints, like I said, I don't know where.
I don't know where
Louisville,
Soccer Holdings is.
Yeah, so I don't know where Soccer Holdings is when it comes to their budgetary constraints when it comes to Lou City versus where they are with racing. And so that
is a reality for all teams in every league, right? There are teams in La Liga on the men's side that they get to a point where they go, we gotta sell this player because we need money for the rest of the team, right? Looking at you, Barcelona, but oh wait, you don't actually do that. It is going to be a reality. Like I'm thinking of Houston. Although I think they have the money, they don't choose to spend it. Orlando is a little bit into this issue where I think hopefully they fixed it because they realize, if you do spend a little bit of money, you might win an NWSL championship and you might be making the playoffs year after year. Just a possibility. That's all I'm saying. You're going to have those teams. And I do think Louisville is on the lower end of capability.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, when you've got a coach like Bev Yanez, I mean, you can coach and navigate. If you have a coach and a system that is successful, you can work your way around not spending that money.
Look at MLS and the two teams we had in the MLS Cup final this year.
Sure.
You have one team who doesn't believe in salary limits and one team that does believe that your team is better if you if you buy, I don't want to say equitably, but strategically spending money in good ways across your roster. Right. I mean, look, I'm sorry. I love the kid, but Miami won with Rocco Rios Novo in net. Let's not pretend like they were just stacked at every position.
I mean,
right. I mean, he's fine, but like, let's not kid ourselves here on that front. There's a reason they went out and got Dane St. Clair immediately after the season ended. Nothing against Rocco. Good kid. I'm just saying, they in Miami said, let's buy the big players and spend our TAM on important players, and then we'll figure out the rest by who knows what.
NIL or what have you. I mean, seriously, that's how I would look at this. It's like, okay, you max out your dudes, you find your NIL, which is separate and apart from the system, and then honestly, like I said, with me and a Trinity Rodman type or like an Emily Fox type, and I don't know why Lindsay Heaps wouldn't want to be playing back closer to San Diego. I'm just saying.
Or her hometown of Denver.
I mean,
which is opening a team in a couple of years.
So I've heard. So I mean, legitimately, I would like to see, and I will effort both the PA and the league to have this discussion about this and the concerns and the confidence that they both have. But what I would do is let the cap be the cap. You want to add that million, fine. You want to sit there and you want to drop it on 5 players at 500. You want to put 1 player at 500. You want to take that extra 500 and boost your cap figure. That's fine. But then above and beyond your DP, then do your NIL deals, and you'll see Trinity Rodman on a bunch of television ads and billboards and everything, and doing the TikToks and everything else. Let that NIL deal be independent of the cap and what she's making with the league. And then that way your marketability for these players shines out. And then in turn, it should make the league more marketable worldwide, because you see all of these players like a Puteas and a Bon Mati, just as an example. If they wanted to sit there, it's like, oh, I see what Trinity Rodman's doing. I see what Emily Fox is doing. I see what, Alyssa Nair is doing. I'm thinking that's really cool, because every 2 weeks I get direct deposit and the thing doesn't bounce. And then I get NIL money. I could be wearing an orange apron and helping folks out at home improvement locations. It's and you bring in those. What you're doing is you're flipping the script on Europe by doing something like that. Am I barking up the wrong?
No, I think again, John, that's the problem here. Is it seems like there was no actual thought in fleshing out this rule. It was just someone had an idea and they ran with it.
Okay. Well, like I said, and I will effort the PA and the league to discuss this as we go into 26.
And I think to wrap it all up, John, before we move on, because we've been talking about this for 30 minutes. It's just, I mean, it deserves it. Don't get me wrong, but
no doubt.
The TLDR of it all.
Yes.
The rule itself is unnecessarily convoluted.
Mm.
And it seems like they did this without CBA negotiation and approval from the PA, which is a problem.
Yeah.
And
National Labor Relations Board might have something to say about that.
Right. And so now, obviously, I'm sure that lots of lawyers on both sides have looked at this, and I'm not sure what NWSL's lawyers feel about, this decision not having to be approved by the CBA. I'm sure they have their argument and language from the agreement that says, oh, no, actually, we can.
Yeah.
But I think the problem here still is that's not a good faith approach. Right?
Yeah.
And that is, again, a problem with when we talk about pay equality.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't even a gender thing. This is just a pay equality and workers' rights.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into some icky stuff that we don't want to have to get into. NWSL better be ready for a lawsuit.
Yeah, it's this
or multiple lawsuits.
Yeah. You could have individual players doing it. You could have the PA on behalf of individual players. It's just something to keep an eye on down.
I mean, in theory, you could have. I don't know. I'm trying to find one who's not in this top 40 who plays here in the U.S.
Olivia Moultrie.
I'll actually take one. Okay, so Sofia Cantori,
mm-hmm.
an Italian national team player.
Mm-hmm.
Italy's obviously done pretty well this year, but not a U.S. women's national teamer. So she does not qualify for the top 11 minutes in that way. She is listed 44 on the Guardian's top 100 list, which is outside of the metric.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't have all the other lists, but like she's an example of, well, you can argue that Washington Spirit see her as a very high impact player.
Yeah.
Or Gift Monday is another example of someone who is a hugely impactful player.
Yes.
Not on these lists. But like, I mean, don't they just, in theory, you can say, well, they're high impact for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the examples given: Santos, Kawasi, Bernal, and Gift Monday at Washington. Dudinha and Corley in San Diego. Sugita, Angel City. Claudia Dickey,
Nina
Seattle.
Sugita is a great example of this, actually, I think.
And then Taylor Flint at Racing Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the examples that were given in the piece. I mean, this is something that obviously we got to put a bookmark in. We got to keep an eye on it and be vigilant about making sure that we continue to find it. See, we even burned through a cup of coffee with Bart talking about.
I know, like we're almost done with this one.
Getting hip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to address a couple things in the chat.
Go for it. All right.
I'm going to go to Abby. She does ask, what will the NWSL schedule look like when Atlanta enters in 2028? So first off, I think that's an unfair question to ask in the end of 2025 because we don't fully know. But the NWSL schedule roughly runs March through November.
Right.
That is their footprint, basically. Now, similar to MLS, it's not the 1st of March through the end of November. They're that
you've had international breaks and things like that.
And 2028 will obviously have a break for the Olympics, a short break, but a break for the Olympics, as they did in 2024. And then obviously 2027 and then 2031, they'll have the break for the World Cup because NWSL does play through the summer. That is not changing to any reporting that we've seen. And in fact, I think that's something that NWSL does see as an actual competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, how does that work now that the transfer market is being a little bit upheaved? I don't know, but that is the general footprint as March through November. There's no reporting that I've seen that is changing anytime soon. So there's that.
Right.
Other one that I think needs to be addressed. Parzival asked about if money can be moved from team to team like from this particular rule, that has not been talked about.
Yeah.
But in general, NWSL does have allocation money that they're trading back and forth, because they do have a rule in their salary budget rules about a net positive transfer spend. So they cannot bring in more than they give out, basically, which again is something that I actually think a lot of leagues should look at.
Yeah.
I actually really like this rule. I know it's not great necessarily when it comes to player acquisition, but I think having some sort of like salaries are one thing, I think we've all agreed, but like a payer actually getting paid isn't the thing that bothers me. It's paying a gajillion dollars to acquire a player, and who knows where that money actually goes.
Oh, dibs rights. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something they do have. But yes, NWSL does have allocation money for teams to go out and buy it / sign players, similar to the way MLS does it, which again, this has been something NWSL fans have been kind of fearful of as becoming a little too MLS-y, and I understand that, but I do think giving teams money to play with isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
In a league that is controlled by the owners and not fully freely open the way that a lot of the European leagues are, because NWSL, like MLS, is a collective. It's not an individual clubs that happen to play in the league. So there are rules like that. So there you go.
Yes, we did have a couple of cards and calls. I know that Ropes was looking at one particular the handball no call in the Everton match. I know that Ropes was looking to go there.
Oh goodness!
There was the Gyökeres moment in the Arsenal match, and then there was the Morgan Gibbs White incident in Forest and City, where Sean Dyche is probably going to get an envelope from the league office for what he said in let me find what Sean Dyche said, and let's see if we can determine the size of the envelope that he is going to be receiving from the league office, because it was a lovely piece of I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it, one of those kind of things. And it was where is it? So go ahead and start. I'm going to look for the Sean Dyche quote. You go ahead and start talking about stuff.
I do want to talk about if the Gyökeres one is involving the goalkeeper coming out and cleaning him out on the sideline.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I texted my friend who's also a Arsenal supporter and a referee, and I said, spiritually, that's a red card.
Yeah.
But like by the letter of the law, that's still just a yellow. But like that, it's not a red card because from a dog show perspective, the direction of play is not headed toward goal. It was pretty far away from goal, so distance to goal is out there. Distance to ball, I think, is within the realm, but the defender's also equation of it. There were at least one defender on the same plane looking down the line as the goalkeeper. So it doesn't meet any of those criteria, but like the goalkeeper absolutely had no intention of playing the ball. You can kind of see that, and wasn't really trying to was not taking care to make sure the other player wasn't like hurt or anything out of it. I think it's definitely the right call to give a yellow card, because it doesn't rise to the actual level of any red card, but this is definitely one of those where the goalkeeper knew the rules, right? And said, oh, I can do this and get away with it and only get a yellow card. And he did. But spiritually, it felt like a red card type of challenge, because had that been done anywhere closer to goal, he might have been a little bit in trouble.
Yes.
So I do feel like that is... I watched it and I was like, oof. Yeah, he's lucky. He knew what he was doing.
Yes. The game winner, the eventual game winner in City and Forest, you had Ryan Cherky drives the ball between the legs of Morgan Gibbs White and Vardial after Vardial heads down a Bernardo Silva corner, and you have Sean Dyche supporting his players' claims that Gibbs White had been fouled by Nico O'Reilly in the build-up to the winner. Dyche's outburst against the referee, Robert Jones, was, quote, everyone, and I can't do Sean Dyche today. So I'm just going to read it. I can't do it as Sean Dyche. I can't quite do it like this, I can't quite do that today. Everyone can see it. There's plenty of people here. There's TV cameras here. Everyone can see their performance today. Miles off it. It's unacceptable, in my opinion, because it affects the game massively. Then their center half boots the ball away. Ref does nothing. Then he jumps on the floor as if he's injured. Nothing wrong with him. The Cherokee goal, Morgan Gibbs White, he's pushed to the floor. Then he tries to get up to block it, and it goes through his body because he can't get in position to block it. An unacceptable performance. I'm a big fan of referees. I think they have a really hard job, and they mostly do it really well. But then I get in trouble. How am I getting in trouble? Look at the footage, end quote. Sean Dyche is getting himself an envelope, if not a suspension, for that one.
Yeah. I do want to take a little bit of, I want to agree with him a little bit in the thing he talked about with booting the ball away. And this is something that, again, I'm a little jaded because as an Arsenal supporter, we got multiple red cards because of this last year. And now all of a sudden, it doesn't seem to be an automatic yellow card. And I know that there has been a change in the way that this is enforced, but it does seem like you went from any possible thing that you might tap the ball away after no matter how close after the foul it was, is a yellow card, to very clear, in my opinion, like cases of continuing after the whistle is blown, very obviously, or knocking the ball away to very clearly disrupt play, just delay the restart. Like those are not being given in the same way. And I understand not having as strict of a standard as they did have last year and the year before, where it was like, well, you did it. There's you breathed too hard. The ball happened to roll away. Here's a yellow card, because that seems like how it was going. Versus now it's like, but he literally kicked the ball away. You can see him do it, and they're getting away with it. I do think that has become an issue, because it you can't go so hard in one direction and then even come back to the middle, let alone it feels like they've gone past it. So I agree with him in that regard. That has been frustrating for me as a fan to watch, when we had to watch all last year players get yellow cards for just being in the way of the ball, trying to get back. Like, it was a little too harsh, I think, in previous seasons. So I think it's hard to just automatically go back and forth like that, especially when it seems like players are getting away with a lot more. The rest of it, look, we've talked about VAR having a higher standard of intervention this year, it seems, or at least they're trying to have a higher standard of intervention this year in the Premier League, because I don't want to go back and re-referee games. I do think what we are also now veering into is not correcting clear and obvious errors, because it's possibly maybe not super clear and obvious.
Right.
I think sometimes you are allowed to look at a play once or twice and go, oh, okay, actually, yeah, we need to take a look at this. Again, that is the VAR's job, right? They should be able to take the time and go, actually, yeah, this, as I've said, allow the official on the field to make the final decision. Right? Send them to the monitor, say, hey, man, you may have missed this one. Or, hey, man, we have an incident that we want you to review. And again, fouls are all subjective, right? We may think fouls have very clear cut, oh, if you do this and this, that's a foul. And some do. But most of the time, they're still subjective in a lot of things. How is the game going? What is the game state at that point in time? What actually happened in this moment versus, what do we see on the replay? Because, you can look at it and go, oh, well, he kicked him. And it's like, well, he didn't really kick him. He just, missed the ball and the other player happened to be there. So, there's a lot of things you can look at. But again, why are we not allowing the on-field official to go back and look at their own and go, okay, oh, yeah, I did miss that. Because as an official, sometimes you cannot see everything. Or your view of something may not be the best view, because if you're looking at it, even if you're in your good position, there are times that contact or fouls happen that you can't see. Especially if your assistant referee isn't the one, it's not going toward the direction of your assistant referee, and you can't, check like hey, was that a foul? Or the AR can't be like, yeah, I got a foul here too.
Mm-hmm.
You're the only person out there. And again, I think this is something that VAR can be a tool to help the only official who has decision-making power on the field.
Right.
But you don't want to be intervening all the time. And that's
yes.
the tightrope you're walking of what does intervention look like and what does re-refereeing look like.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we're trying to get away from re-refereeing.
But I do agree that Manchester City should be booted from the league. So I agree with Sean Dyche on that.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Yanks abroad. Let's go there because I will keep my question to you about semantics, and it has to do basically with when you're sliding in for tackles and it's contact, but with cleats in the process of tackles and stomping on folks or inadvertently stomping on folks, and administration of calling a foul versus timing, because you'll see times where contact is made and slide tackles there. It's a fantastic tackle, but then you end up studs up, you make contact, and then sometimes it's called, sometimes it's not. The semantics of what you're thinking and the thought process is in those tackling situations where you either make contact with the ball first, then work your way through, and then you make contact with studs after the act is completed, versus missing the ball, coming in first or coming in second, then studs contact. That kind of semantics. I want to save that one because that was what was stuck in my head after fouls and like that. So I want to save that because if we go down that road, we're going to keep going and we're going to miss a couple of other things. So that's next week. And the yearbook is probably going to go to next week too. So we'll save that. Yanks abroad. Let's go there. And I don't know if you've heard, but apparently this Christian Pulisic person is pretty decent. He opens the scoring for Milan in their 3-0 win over Hellas Verona, 8th goal of the season, second in the race for top scorer behind Lautaro Martinez with 9. And it was, so you end up with Pulisic, and this is a Gazzetta dello Sport, going 1 to 10, low to high. Pulisic gets a 7 for the goal. Weston McKennie gets a 6.5, playing 90 minutes in a 2-0 win for Juve at Pisa. Yunus Musa, a 5.5 for under 45, and a 1-0 loss to Inter Milan. Benjamin Kremasky ended up with a cup of coffee in his match for Parma. So you end up with Pulisic and getting high marks. Gazzetta dello Sport, quote, "The entire attack revolved around him without Leao and with Nkunku down in the first half, but he felt the goal and didn't let go on the first good opportunity, changing the face of the match. McKennie gritted his teeth after his recent muscle strain, moved from flank to flank, partly as a winger, partly as a fullback, partly everywhere in the second half. An inexhaustible engine that needs to be renewed," end quote. So there you go. Renew his contract.
I think Weston McKennie's rounded a little bit of a corner here with Juventus to the point where, like, I don't think there's the constant, is he good enough for the team that had been kind of plaguing him the past couple of years. Both, by the way, Pulisic and McKennie are in my yearbook superlatives for very different reasons. I think McKennie, a lot of the reporting around him has been very, I think, if you read and assemble everything, it's, he's become a little bit of an actual professional soccer player. Not a dude who plays professional soccer. And I think that's been a good change from him. Reports about his fitness and fitness regimen, and I feel actually comfortable taking my shirt off at the pool, which is a crazy thing for a professional soccer player to say. It's like, bro, y'all are the ones who have like the best bodies of any athlete, and you were feeling fat. Like, that's not saying he was, not saying he was, saying that's how he felt.
That's being self-conscious. I mean, I get that.
Right. But the fact that he has kind of taken his job a little bit more seriously in 2025 is a really positive thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully it continues, because I do think it's fair to say that I'm not saying was immature, because that's not fair.
Right.
I just think he was a little unserious he's just a guy who's good at the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's taken it a little bit more seriously, realized this is a job that I need to be looking at day in and day out. Not the 2 hours I'm at practice and the 2 hours I play a game on the weekend.
Yep. England, Fulham 1-0 win at West Ham. They've won all 3 Premier League matches since Jedi Robinson has returned to the starting lineup. Sky, on a scale of 1 to 10, gave him an 8, playing the full 90 minutes. Brendan Aronson gets a 7 for 90 minutes, getting an assist in the draw at Sunderland. Obviously, Tyler Adams injured, Chris Richards injured for the stomp on his foot. So, dude had to get stitches for getting stomped on his foot, man. That's not cool. That is not cool.
Yeah, that wasn't good. No, but like, I think if you're a USMNT fan, and we literally talked about this on the podcast, like at the end of last window, we were going, Jedi Robinson, it's the end of November and he ain't played a soccer game in a very long time. Are we sure he'll even be good enough for the World Cup? I think we can put those fears to rest a little bit. Sorry, Max Arfton, you will not be starting a World Cup match if things are going the way things are going right now for Mr. Jedi Robinson. It's just the positive. That's just where we're at, right? Now, for Brendan Aronson, maybe the most surprising of all USMNTers in a domestic league this year. And I mean that because I don't think anyone really thought that he would be at this level of contribution, but mainly this level of actual, like this volume of play for Leeds. I think a lot of people thought he's still with the team, great, but like, is he actually going to play in the Premier League? Because we kind of remember where he was the last time Leeds was in the Prem, and it wasn't great from him. Leeds wasn't great, right? I think that like Leeds was not in a good spot at that point in time. Excuse me. Leeds weren't great. I need to be English.
Well, no, Leeds. No, you're talking. You're talking.
John, we are talking about the English Premier League.
Yeah, so it's a singular.
So
it is a
singular teams are treated as plural across the pond, John.
Well, whatever. Okay, fine. Sure.
Yeah.
Leeds United singular franchise. Yes. So that's
grammar down here. Yeah.
Yes.
Leeds not a good team last time they were in the Premier League, right? I think that's very fair to say. Yeah. Like a lot of teams who get promoted, they very quickly came back down. This time around, they do have a little bit more of a Premier League ready game plan. First off,
yeah. Dominic Calvert
roster
7 and 6. Yeah,
right. But the fact that Brendo is still so impactful and playing so much is a testament to his work rate, but his talent, and he has truly improved a lot. I think since the last time we saw him in the Premier League, it's a pot. I do not think he has he's not unseated anyone ahead of him in the player pool or on the depth chart for the national team necessarily. But you have a dude playing this well in the Premier League, a dude who is consistently playing for a Premier League club.
Yep.
It's a good thing to have. And he is versatile, right? We know he can play both kind of an attacking midfielder or a winger. Shoot, put him at fullback. He'll probably do that job all right. You know, it's nice to have a guy of that playing at this level, 6 months before World Cup?
Yeah.
Good for Brendo. That's all I'll say.
Not a bad thing. All right. What's the latest for the Soccer for USPOD?
Well, we're still in holiday break mode.
Boo!
I know. But we will have something next week. We'll be doing our annual New Year's resolutions for men's and women's national teams and U.S. soccer as a whole. Spoiler alert, they will involve heavily, especially when we're talking about U.S. soccer, they'll involve heavily capitalizing on the World Cup and actually trying to do that, not just trying to make money. Because those are two different things, John.
Yes. We will be catching up with you. And a quick note to our discussion about Soccer Holdings. It appears Philip Goodrum has been acquired by Lexington SC in a 6-figure transfer fee for Lou City and for Soccer Holdings. Transaction includes conditional clauses which could see it become the largest between two USL championship clubs in league history. Full financial terms not disclosed. Deal is pending league and federation approval. Quote from Danny Cruz. Goodrum joined in August of 24 after a paid transfer from Tulsa. 38 games, 17 goals, 13 in 2025. And so 2 USL Players Shield winning teams with Lou City. So someone that we know here, Philip Goodrum, gets transferred, an intra-league transfer from Lou City to Lex. That's going to make the Bluegrass Derby real interesting come 26. We'll catch up with Kaylor Hodges about this, and we'll have that for you tomorrow. But Philip Goodrum,
Good for Phil.
6 figures going from 6 figures back to Lou City from Lex. Lex is spending a boatload of money. We're going to find out where that's coming from. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for dropping by. We got news to get into and stuff, as the kids say. So don't be a stranger. Keep your yearbook handy for next week, and keep my question in your brain about process of slide tackle, studs up, those kinds of things, and when you call it, when you don't, those kinds of. Literally, it was what stuck in my head with the Chris Richards injury and getting stomped on and all those kinds of things. So stomping and Chris Richards and studs up and all that kind of stuff. That was what I was going to get into, but we'll put a bookmark in that too, and we'll see you next week.
All right, y'all. Happy New Year if I don't see you before then.
That too. Be good, my friend. We will see you soon. There goes Bart Keeler. All right, we got news to get into, and I don't quite think it is of the variety where we show the breaking news sounder, but 2 things. Toronto FC has signed Brazilian left back Mateus Pereira from Santa Clara in Portugal through the 27-28 season. Club option for 28-29. Defender added to the club's roster pending the receipt of his international transfer certificate, work permits, and medicals. Santa Clara, 49 appearances in all comps since he joined in July of 24. Debuted against the NK Varajdin in Conference League qualifier July 24th of 24. Before Santa Clara, he was at the Vizela in the 2nd division in Portugal. 4 assists, 5 goals, 57 appearances dating back to 2022. So 5'8", 149, 25-year-old defender. Pereira comes from Club Deportivo Santa Clara. And the other piece of news comes out of both Nashville and LAFC. It appears that Jacob Schaffelberg is heading to LAFC. Sources have confirmed to 615 Soccer and to Ben Wright that it is heading in that direction. So Schaffelberg, obviously important player for Nashville, but according to Ben Wright, struggled with BJ Callahan's more possession-based approach and should be a perfect fit, according to Ben, for the system at LAFC. Nashville will receive a total of $1 million in GAM for the trade, $526, $527, and they'll retain a sell-on fee for any future transfer. So Schaffelberg joined Nashville on loan initially in August of 22, excelling in the second half of the year. Made the move permanent at the end of the season in 22 for $300,000 in GAM. 107 appearances, 14 and 17. And so Jacob Schaffelberg, that might be what you're looking at from LAFC, as they were posting some cryptic stuff in a domestic package that was put together last night on their social media. So Jacob Schaffelberg looks like he's being traded to LAFC. Sources confirming that to Ben Wright in 615 Soccer. So Schaffelberg will be heading to LAFC. Interesting pickup for LAFC. And now you wonder what Nashville's going to be doing for replacements on the roster and what it's going to look like for them there. It looks like Bournemouth might be targeting Brennan Johnson from Spurs as a possible replacement for Antoine Semenyo if that does in fact go through. So we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, Semenyo wants something done by New Year's Day. Bournemouth wants something done by the 10th because they need to find a replacement. And so you have those 2 dominoes in place working backward. Right now, the Guardian is reporting Brennan Johnson would be the first name that would be attached to all of that. Now, getting into the transfer news, gossip talk, Spurs have been offered the chance to sign Leon Goretzka by Bayern Munich. Crystal Palace and Newcastle are chasing after AZ Alkmaar midfielder Kees Smit, who is 19, but you're facing competition from Real Madrid. Spurs are targeting a new attacker in January, and they're staring at Omar Marmoush. They're looking at Porto's Samo Agehoa and Juve's Kenan Yildiz, all as possible options there. Sunderland interested in signing Lille teenager Ayub Bouadi, who is 18, and 21-year-old Monaco midfielder Lamine Camara. Manchester City would be willing to sell Nathan Ake in January if they get an offer in excess of £21 million. That's from Sport in Spanish. Eintracht Frankfurt have open talks over a potential move for Nottingham Forest forward Arnold Calimundo, who they view as a serious option should a move for Will Osula from Newcastle not develop. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Ajax have identified Burnley defender Quilinci Hartman as one of their main targets for the January window. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool that may have bid on the table in the region of £60 million for Real Madrid midfielder Eduardo Camavinga. That's from Fichajes. It is Girona. They want to sign Marc-Andre ter Stegen. Villa is no longer expected to pursue him. That's from Sport. Real Madrid is not going to consider loaning out 18-year-old midfielder Franco Mastuantuono in January. Xabi Alonso wants to keep him around. That's Fabrizio Romano there. West Ham could let Brazil's midfielder Lucas Paquetá leave in January if an acceptable offer is made. And Chelsea expect to have a quiet window, although the Blues are keen to add a new center back. New arrivals more likely to join in the summer. A couple of headlines before we get out of here. Gianni Infantino is defending World Cup ticket prices, and he's defended the cost of tickets by saying they reflect the public's absolutely crazy demand for next summer's tournament. Pricing structure for the tournament, once again, the Football Supporters Association is describing it as scandalous. Infantino says the level of demand far outstrips supply. 6 to 7 million tickets, he said, at the World Sports Summit in Dubai earlier today. And on sale 15 days, we received 150 million ticket requests. So 10 million ticket requests every single day shows how powerful the World Cup is. In almost 100 years of the World Cup, FIFA has sold 44 million tickets in total. So in 2 weeks, we could have filled 300 years of World Cups. Imagine that. That is absolutely crazy, end quote. So that is the news that is coming out of the sound bites and interviews at the World Sports Summit in Dubai, and you can actually watch that on the 280-character app as well. Before we get out of here, we've got to get you into AFCON. We had a really cool moment happen over the weekend, and it has to do with a match 40 years in the making. 40 years in the making. It happened yesterday. And so it was a lead of 2-1 for Mozambique over Gabon. And then this happened, courtesy of our friends at BN Sports and the CAF.
Through the middle they go. Guima over to the left-hand side. Unalanga. Good slick football. He scooped the ball over to himself. That was a little bit of deft class there. Left-hand side, ball coming across. It's a head down. It's a goal number 3. Absolutely brilliant from Mozambique. Well, how about that? The right back storms up to the right side and delivers the header that's offered the Mambas a third strike. Diogo Kalila with a brilliant header at the far post. The high ball came over. And look at this, Mozambique on the cusp of a historic first ever.
Yeah, this is definitely a sucker punch for Gabon. Mozambique once again on that transition, breaking into that final third, making those box entries. But look at that late run from Kaila. Unmarked at the back post, textbook stuff. You have to header the ball where it comes back from. Completely beats the defense of Gabon. Unmarked, coming from the blind side.
So it was 3-1 at that point, 3-2 as you're getting late. There was a fourth goal for Mozambique that was wiped off the board. So 3-2 as time is running out. And here's how the match ended, Mozambique and Gabon yesterday.
Goes out of play, no rush. We're into the last few seconds. Chiquinho Conde will be the happiest man in the world if they can hold on. Will they hold on? History in the making. We love new pages of history. Kenny picks the ball up. He's put it on his left foot, gets the shot in. Oh, stop there, Bambala. And the goalkeeper's left foot stops it from making it for minutes. There it is. They have done it. History in the making for Chiquinho Conde and Mozambique. A remarkable scenario. All of these players will be celebrating today. What an incredible scenario. The marvelous Mambas make history with their first ever victory in the Africa Cup of Nations. In 17 attempts, they get their first win. Gabon 2, Mozambique 3.
And that's why we played that particular set of highlights, because 40 years it took for Mozambique to get a win in the AFCON tournament. 17 tries, 40 years. They finally get their first ever win. Debut was in 1986. Goals from Faisal Bangal, Jenny Katamo, and we played you the Diego Kalia goal. Deserved victory led by their 42-year-old winger, Elias Pelembe. Gabon stayed in the contest. Goals from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alex Mukatu Musunda. Back-to-back defeats once again means that Gabon and their chase to the round of 16 is pretty much done. Ivory Coast that get a 1-1 draw with Cameroon. We figured that was going to be the case. It was going to be those two heavyweights, and nothing was resolved by the time that the match was over. So that was what happened yesterday. So today, going on right now, 10 minutes in, it is an early round of Angola and Egypt. And this is simultaneous starts for the end of the group stage. Angola and Egypt underway, 11th minute, no score. Angola, a slight underdog at a plus 187. Egypt, a plus 169, draws a plus 191. South Africa already has a lead on Zimbabwe at a minus 149. Zimbabwe trails that one 1-0. Now, 2 o'clock, it is the Comoros and Mali. Comoros, a decided underdog at a plus 635. Mali favored at a minus 185. Zambia, a plus 1550 as they go up against Morocco, the home country, who's a minus 526. So looking at your standings right now, after 2 match days, Morocco, 4 points, Mali with 2. They're ahead of Zambia with goals scored by 1 goal. So you've got to keep an eye on Group A today at 2 o'clock. And then the Comoros, obviously, they have 1 draw and the loss to Morocco. So you could make some noise with a result today. You probably need to get the win against Mali if you're the Comoros, but we'll keep an eye on that as we go. Then, once again, Group B decided today. Egypt right now, 6 points. You know, if they lose today, then they would still be at 6 points. Angola would only be at 4. South Africa would need a result and then make up a 2-goal difference heading into match day. So South Africa needs a result. Zimbabwe needs a win. And right now, that's what you're looking at with those matchups in Group B. Group C, Nigeria is 2 for 2. Tunisia has 3 points. Tanzania and Uganda, they have 1 point. Tanzania right now is in 3rd on goal difference. Group D, Senegal and DR Congo. This group is going to go down to the last minutes of the last match day. Senegal, DR Congo. Senegal's ahead on goal difference with 4 points, and they're ahead on goal difference. They have 2 goals higher a goal difference than DR Congo. Benin lost and then won. So Benin is still in the conversation to get in. They will end up playing Senegal on the last match day tomorrow. And we'll find out what happens in Group D. Botswana needs a lot of help. They need a win, and they need to win big because they're at -4 in goal difference. Group E, Algeria and Burkina Faso, once again, playing over the weekend. Algeria +4 in goal difference. They've won their first 2. Burkina Faso is ahead of Sudan on goal difference with 3 points. Equatorial Guinea is 2 for 2 in losses. They have no points, and they would have to win, and then they would have to win big against Algeria to be in consideration for the slots that are not the head of Group E. Then in Group F, Cameroon and Ivory Coast. Once again, this one's going to go down to the last. Cameroon, Ivory Coast, identical points, identical goal difference, identical goals scored. So when they get to Group F, it's going to be fun to pay attention to that one. Mozambique right now at 3 points, and they have given up 3 and scored 3. Gabon, once again, at a -2, having lost their first 2, but a big win for Mozambique to possibly get them into the knockouts as one of those 3s, considering that they have to play Cameroon on Wednesday, match day last in Group F. And so that's your update. What to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. You can do that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And once again, it helps you, it helps them, it helps all of us when it comes to all of the the matchups and all the games that are around these days. You can watch it Fanatis. You get all the BNs, TVV, CDO for the fans, Liga 1 Max Pro, all the things that are laid out for you there at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You have the 2 matchups on BN today, simulcast on BN and Espanol. CBS Sports Network has Serie A at 2:45, Roma Genoa. Goal TV, Porto and AVS, and the Portuguese Primera is at 3:15. And the news came out today officially that Goal TV will not exist after the 1st. So what Nino told us late last week is in fact the case, that, and we got word from Fanatis this morning, that Goal TV is not going to have any kind of content. They're done as of January 1st. And so we're going to keep an eye on our buddy Nino. And obviously he has a red carpet to come in and discuss things as much as he wants. ESPN Plus early this morning had the A-League. Fox, Big Fox ONE has the Serie A match. Paramount Plus, 1 o'clock, 4 at 2:45, 1 at 3:15 in the English Championship. League One, Cardiff and Stevenage at 2:45, and League Two, Notts County is hosting the team that I don't specifically reference by name in League Two because they're a bunch of carpetbaggers and left town. That matchup is at 2:45, and so that is what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Real quick, if you do not get our lead in the Morning Espresso, the newsletter and the audio and video that Jason puts out as like the morning serve that gets your day started before we come on SDH, you can go ahead and go to soccerdownhere.net. And you can subscribe, and you can go on our socials and subscribe there too. And you can find out what's on Jason's mind to get you ready for the day, which leads into us, which leads into the rest of all of our programming that we have here. So once again, thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Thanks to our friends at Fanatis. Thanks to our friends at Grady Baby for the gear. Thanks to our friends for Olive and York for the jersey, because they understand what the Soccer for Good campaign is all about. And obviously, as always, thanks to our friends at the Marshall Islands for letting us be a small part of helping them build their reputation and get the updates as to what's going on with the Last Nation that is starting a national soccer team. And so it's been fun to see that progression as well. So that is it for another day of SDH AM. I think we're done for the day, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll see what's on the mind of Kaylor Hodges. Obviously, the Philip Goodrum deal, we have to talk about that with him. What else has happened in the month of December? Get you ready for what happened in 2025. Get you ready for 26 and championship in League One. We got new teams coming in. All the things. Really looking forward to having that discussion with Kaylor tomorrow. And we'll see what's up with Casey White and see if she has, in fact, returned from her sojourns in family for the holidays. We'll find out if Owen got the pony that he was looking for, or what it was that Owen got for. Maybe Owen got a bone about that big. That's what we're thinking. So that's what we'll find out tomorrow. That's what tomorrow's all about, and we will bring it all to you there. Since it is the end of the show, thanks for dropping by for another go-around of SDH AM. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We'll see you in a little less than 22 back here for another go-around of SDH AM. SOT tonight, 8 o'clock. We'll discuss AFCON and all the things. See you there.